this Thursday, June 27th, 2024, regular meeting of the Brisbane Planning Commission will now come to order. May I please have a roll call?
Commissioner Funke? Aye. Commissioner Gooding?
Aye.
Commissioner Lau?
Present.
Commissioner Patel?
Aye.
Commissioner Sayasane?
Here.
May I ask for a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda. Second.
Great. Can we conduct a voice vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
That's all in favor, 5 ayes. We'll at this point ask if any members of the public would like to pull any items from the consent calendar. They can contact us through the what's listed in the post by text or by Zoom. And while we wait for this, I'm going to ask the commissioners if they would like to remove any items from the consent calendar.
No.
And that's no.
Okay, 30 seconds has passed. I have no raised hands, no text or calls.
Then may I have a motion to adopt a consent calendar, please?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
That's passes with 5 ayes. We'll move on to oral communications and ask if the public has wishes to address the commission for any items that aren't on tonight's agenda. They can contact us through the through means that's posted by on Zoom or phone or text. While we wait for that, I want to acknowledge there was some written communications received by the commission from Ms. Dilworth, as well as other communications regarding some slurry seal work.
And there was some new correspondence put on the dais with you this evening as well.
Appreciate that.
There's two.
Thank you.
All right, 60 seconds has passed. No raised hands, texts, or calls.
Okay. Thank you. We can then move towards a new business. And this is regarding General Plan Conformity 2024-GPC-1. It's Crocker Park Trade Commercial Subarea. General Plan Conformity Review of the City of Brisbane Disposition of Certain Real Property at APN 005-300-999. It's located at the western edge of Crocker Park Subarea, generally behind 151 West Hill Place, totaling approximately 28,000 square feet, and finding that this project is categorically exempt from environmental review under CEQA Guidelines Sections 15312.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
As introduced, this is for general plan conformity of a city-owned parcel in the Crocker Park subarea. This item is not a hearing regarding the sale of the property, but rather a review of conformity as it relates to the location, extent, and purpose of such conveyance per state law. The City Council will consider a proposed sale at a public hearing. The 28,000 square foot lot shown on this map is a city-owned property and located at the western edge of the city near West Hill Place and at the base of San Bruno Mountain. It is the subject of a land sale transfer as directed by the City Council last year and declared surplus by the Council in February of this year. The state found the city had met the requirements under the Surplus Lands Act, the SLA, for the purposes of disposing the subject property in May. In addition to SLA requirements, prior to a potential sale of city-owned property, the Planning Commission must review if the location, extent, and purpose of such disposition conforms with the general plan. The subject property as well as the adjacent properties within the limits of the city, have a trade commercial land use designation and a zoning designation of TC1, which designates this property for commercial development. The transaction would provide the potential buyer the flexibility for orderly expansion of their property located at 151 West Hill Place, while establishing a dedicated and direct link to the San Bruno Mountain State and County Park, from which Brisbane residents may utilize and benefit. Exhibit A of the draft resolution, included with staff's report, is a concept map depicting the easement that would provide public access to San Bruno Mountain. In addition to the parcel's conformity with the general plan land use designation, staff's report lists a number of general plan policies the sale would conform to. They generally fall into two categories. One, the sale would allow economic development that benefits the community through jobs and or revenue. And two, it would connect Brisbane to regional destinations or natural areas for the benefit of current and future residents. Lastly, the Planning Commission considered a similar request in 2020, though ultimately the sale did not proceed. At the time, the Commission had requested additional information about the history of the property and potential connectivity to the San Bruno Mountain. This information was included in staff's report. In summary, when the city received the subject property in 1996, it never had direct access to a public right-of-way, and the San Bruno Mountain State and County Park Master Plan identifies a proposed trail corridor, also approved by the San Bruno Mountain Habitat Conservation Plan, within 500 feet of the subject property, but the nearest trailhead is nearly a mile away. This concludes staff presentation with a recommendation of adoption of Resolution 2024 GPC-1, finding that the subject property is zoned for commercial and light industrial development. The subject property's general plan land use designation is TC Trade Commercial that permits a mix of commercial and light industrial uses. The disposition would allow economic development that benefits the community, and the disposition would connect Brisbane to a regional natural area for the benefit of future residents. This concludes staff's report. Any questions at this time?
Thank you. Let's go down the line. Commissioner Funke, do you have any questions for the staff?
I'll just start with a technical one. I'm sorry if I didn't hear this, but I'm just curious about what the definition of a surplus property is.
So that's a piece of land that the city has indicated is kind of excess.
This trail, I guess there's public access. I'll say I'm actually familiar with that because I've used it to access Crystal Cave. It can be accessed from there. But I wonder if you have sort of an artist's conception of what the trail looks like is one, and the other is the sort of the maintenance of the trail.
Yes, there is a concept plan. It was included with staff's report, and I can put it on the screen if you like. So this is part of the PSA concept, the purchase and sale agreement. It's very similar to what was in 2020, and it was discussed at council kind of when they directed us for declaring the property as surplus. And you can see the subject properties in green, and you see the kind of the dark marking that would be the proposed trail. And then there's also going to be, as part of the agreement, an easement on the property of 151 West Hill so that the trail can connect to the right-of-way at 151 West Hill. Mm-hmm. As far as maintenance, I'm not as familiar with the finer details of the agreement, so I don't know where that came down.
It's the kind of the question of, I guess, parking there. It's never been a problem because you can just generally park in that area, but I think it seems to me like this would be an improvement on the current situation. And then the final thing I'm curious about was what can be done with this property of this size? I mean, what does the city expect might happen here? It's zoned for light industrial use. There are plans to make another structure, and would that come to the Planning Commission?
You mean what's the potential buyer looking to do with this, or just?
Yeah, like what if there's anything known about what the plans are for this property. Is it suitable for a structure? Is it wide enough?
So it would not be a structure because that would be, if it were to be sold and merged, that would be the setback area. They're looking to most likely expand their parking to provide more parking for their employees.
I see. Okay, thank you. That's all I was curious about.
Thank you. Commissioner Sayasane?
Just a quick follow-up question. This easement that they will be granting, is there like a time frame where the public can't access it, or is it 24 hours?
I am not familiar if that detail was in the PSA. That is something that the city council will be going over the agreement
Okay,
at a public hearing too.
thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gooding?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think Rule asked the question I was going to ask, which is, what possible use could a strip this narrow be? And if it's strictly parking, that seems fairly innocuous. If they try to use it for anything other than parking, what you're telling us is that the setback requirements would rule out any other building use.
Yeah, because of the size of the parcel, you wouldn't be able to get much building in that area. So there really is no use for that piece of land for a structure once it gets merged with the property there at 151. And not shown here, but off to the right, the neighboring property, they too acquired a piece of this former railroad spur prior to 1996, and they use it to add more parking for their structure as well.
And lastly, on that issue, on this diagram, you've shown us where the proposed trail access is in dark. Would that be part of the condition of the sale transfer agreement?
Yes, it's one of the call-outs in the PSA.
So by definition, the existing structures could not be expanded to eliminate that trail.
Right, it's they're granting an easement for us, I think it's an exclusive access easement.
All right, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Patel?
I just wanted to really briefly ask, there's this letter from Dana Dilworth talking about whether or not it should be sold, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're just talking about whether it fits the purposes of the general plan. And there's going to be a totally different conversation with the city council or debate that they can have on whether or not it should be sold on a later date.
That is correct. We're looking at, does this piece of land conform with our general plan?
Okay.
And then when the sale comes up, the city council at a public hearing will be discussing the purchase and sale agreement.
Okay. I have no other questions.
No, thank you. I had that same question and concern. I also was just curious, so there's been previous precedent where surplus property has been asked or tasked for the planning commission to approve for the general plan for the city council to, dispose of however they see fit. Is that correct?
Yes, this parcel in particular was in 2020, and that is required by state law for any jurisdiction when they have surplus land. If they want to sell it, this is a step they have to do before they can finalize that disposition.
Okay, sorry, I have one more question. Are there any arguments that can be made that this is actually like conservation area that's adjacent to the park or anything like that? Or is it pretty much, it was once industrial, it's still industrial?
Well,
still
so
kind of-
the former use was a railroad spur
Right.
for Crocker Industrial Park. It's on our city boundary, and it's been this trade commercial designation for decades.
Okay.
The property or the land to the south is outside our city limit, and that is the state park, but this has not been zoned as open space.
I assume that this butts right up against San Bruno Mountain Park. Is that right?
Yes, so immediately to the south, that is the state and county park.
Okay, so it's not like there's no more surplus land there along this strip.
That is the city boundary right there.
But is there more surplus land of this nature that goes all the way north towards Brisbane itself? You know what I mean? Is there a narrow strip like this that is all surplus potentially? And then my final question is the money earmarked for anything? You know what I mean? So it's surplus land. Is it earmarked for a special use, or does it go into a general fund, or?
For funding, I think that was in the past a kind of a discussion point for the council where to put the proceeds. I don't know where they're going to land on that. They might put it towards preserving other open space parcels, but that's something that could be discussed at the city council meeting. As far as this spur, so it did terminate right here where my mouse is, and then it extended down this way, and it used to extend quite, further and met up with the former Southern Pacific Rail Yard over there, kind of on the Baylands. But this parcel here, or the portion of the railroad spur here, was sold to this property, I think, in 2012, 2013. So we never really had the whole contiguous spur there. Prior to us obtaining it, it was the McKesson Corporation, and they deeded all their kind of extra lands once they finished out at the Northeast Ridge.
Okay, thank you.
Just curious, what's the current business at 151 West Hill that would be expanding their parking lot?
I think their name is BLT Enterprise, and I'm not entirely familiar with their specific use. It used to be Frito-Lay's, but I'm not entirely sure what their use is.
I think you're right. I drove by the property and did see some of those trucks. Yes. Okay. If we could like to open up the public hearing.
That's at your discretion.
Or
This is not a public hearing
okay.
item. It's not required, but your discretion.
No, or then otherwise to ask for any comments from the public. Is that? And they can contact through Zoom or phone or text as listed. While we wait for that, once again, acknowledge the communications received from Dana Dilworth, not in support of adopting this plan.
Through the chair, do you want to set like a time? We don't currently have any participants in the Zoom, so do you want to keep it open for a minute, 2 minutes?
1 minute.
1 minute? Okay,
Please.
I'm going to start a timer now.
Thank you.
Ten more seconds. Okay, 60 seconds has elapsed. I have no attendees raising hands or in the Zoom.
Thank you.
No calls or texts.
I don't think, since we didn't open a public hearing, we don't need to close the public hearing. Is that correct? Then we can go on to maybe finalize any deliberations, or just ask all the commissioners if they have any comments.
No, my only comment is that to echo Commissioner Patel's comment that this really is about whether this proposed sale conforms to the general plan and not whether it has any issue of policy or conservation or whatever, whether it's a good or bad idea, simply whether as a threshold issue it conforms to the general plan.
And just to build on that, since the parcel right next to it, at some point, the planning commission found that it was conforming to general plan, it would seem unfair to find that this one is not, when it's basically the same type of parcel, just a little bit located in a different area. So, I appreciate Ms. Stillworth's advocacy, but I think that it's better suited for the city council meeting and not for here.
Yes, that's not what we're tasked to do tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you. Then, can I ask for a motion to approve or not approve?
I'll make a motion to adopt General Plan Conformity 2024-GPC-1.
Second?
If I may, I think I could just perhaps take the liberty of refining the motion to simply adopt the staff's proposed findings with regard to this application, including its comments regarding conformity with the general plan. Thank you.
You have a resolution, if you just want to make reference to adoption of the resolution that includes the findings and the conclusion.
And the resolution does include those findings.
Okay.
Okay.
A second.
And I'll second?
Can we do a vote? I can ask for a vote.
Aye.
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 And aye, so this motion passes with 5 ayes. Anyone may appeal the action of the Planning Commission to the City Council, except where specified otherwise. Appeals shall be filed with the city clerk no later than 15 calendar days following the Planning Commission's decision. Exceptions to the 15-day filing period include the following. Appeals shall be filed with the city clerk within 6 calendar days of the Planning Commission's action for use permits and variances, and 10 calendar days for tentative maps and advertising sign applications. An application form and fee is required to make a formal appeal. For additional information, please contact the city clerk at 415-508-2110. Thanks. Staff or any reports or other presentations?
Just one thing, that the two zoning text amendments you considered and recommended for council approval, the SB 9 and the other development standards. We did go to council in June. They did end up continuing the matter. There was, I guess, a fair amount of what they perceived as public confusion as to, the SB 9 implications in particular. Obviously, not everybody had the benefit of multiple workshops like the commission did, so that was continued to do a little more outreach and education to the public. You'll probably see something in the city news when it comes out next week regarding the items, and we're working on a website that'll have a little more robust information. So that'll come back to the council in July.
Can I ask, was it just basically whether or not we had to implement SB9? Is that where the confusion lies?
Well, I think there was some confusion as to, again, the implications of it.
Okay.
I think the council understood that whether or not we adopted the ordinance, SB 9 still applied. There was some confusion about the RBA zoning district and maybe some issues that aren't really related to the SB 9 at all, and the RBA zoning district, which is, that'll sometimes comes up on any kind of zoning issue up there. And so we'll work through it, and I think we'll be in a good position, hopefully in July, to get it moved on.
Okay, thank you. Were there any items the commissioners would like to present individually? All right.
No, thank you.
Then I think this meeting is adjourned until July 25th. Is that correct? Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Use the gun.